She slid the check across the table like it was nothing. $22 million, written out in full, on a check from an account I recognized, the family trust, the one that had been funding her son's life since before I met him, the one whose existence I had always known about and whose weight I had always felt without ever being told the number. Now I knew the number, $22 million, for my twins. Let me be precise about what I mean when I say that, because the sentence sounds like something from a movie and I need you to understand that it was not a movie. It was a Tuesday afternoon in March. I was sitting in the living room of a house I had shared with my husband for 7 years. My twins, Emma and Liam, 4 years old, currently upstairs, taking a nap that I could hear. Through the monitor, on the coffee table, were the subject of a transaction their grandmother had apparently been planning for considerably longer than that Tuesday afternoon. "I want to raise them," my mother-in-law said. Her name was Victoria Harrington, 71 years old, the kind of woman who has been in rooms that make decisions for so long that she has stopped distinguishing between rooms where she has authority and rooms where she does not. My son is not capable of providing the life these children deserve. You know that. I know that. This, she gestured at the check, is what I am prepared to offer for your cooperation. I looked at the check, then at Victoria, then at the monitor on the coffee table, the small screen showing 2 sleeping 4-year-olds in the room directly above us. "Cooperation," I said. "You would sign over primary custody," she said. "They would be raised here, in this house, with the resources and the education and the opportunities that the Harrington name provides. You would have access, supervised, reasonable access. But the primary home would be here." She said it the way she said everything, with the particular calm of someone who has decided the outcome before the conversation and is simply waiting for the other person to arrive at the same conclusion. Let me take you back, because Victoria had not arrived at that Tuesday afternoon without a history that explained every word she said and every dollar on that check. My name is Claire Harrington. I had been married to James Harrington for 7 years. James was, I want to be precise, because James deserves precision, not a bad man, not cruel, not absent in the deliberate way of someone who has chosen not to show up. He was absent in the way of someone who has never been required to show up, whose mother had arranged every difficulty and managed every consequence and ensured, across 38 years of his life, that the particular weight of adult responsibility had never fully landed on him. He was charming, genuinely. The particular charm of someone who has never had to develop competence, because charm was always sufficient. I had loved him. I had believed when we married that the version of James I saw, the warmth, the humor, the way he looked at me in the early years, was the complete version. I had been wrong. The incomplete parts had become visible gradually. Not in dramatic moments in the accumulated, small evidence of someone who was consistently not there when there was something difficult to be there for. The pregnancy, twin pregnancy, which is its own particular demanding thing, managed largely alone while James was traveling for work that was less work than it appeared. The early years, 2 infants simultaneously, the particular exhausted mathematics of double, everything, navigated with help from my own mother while James remained pleasant and present in the particular way of someone who is in the room, but not in the situation. I had stayed. Not from weakness, from the particular hope of someone who keeps believing that the next stage will be the one where things become what she had expected them to be. The next stage did not come. What came instead was Victoria, on a Tuesday afternoon, with a check and the particular calm of someone who believed she had already won. I looked at the monitor. Emma and Liam, sleeping. Then I looked at Victoria. "Thank you for coming," I said. "I'll need some time to consider this." Victoria smiled. The smile of someone receiving a response she expected. "Of course," she said. "Take the time you need." She left the check on the table. She left 40 minutes later, and I sat in that living room with a $22 million dollar check and a baby monitor and the particular clarity that arrives sometimes when someone has shown you exactly who they are and exactly what they think of you. I picked up my phone, not to call James, to call my attorney, because I had a number too, and mine was better. My attorney's name was Patricia Walsh. I had retained her 14 months earlier, not in anticipation of this specific Tuesday, but in the particular wisdom of someone who had been living inside a Harrington marriage long enough to understand that wisdom required preparation. Patricia specialized in family law. She had been practicing for 22 years. She had, in those 22 years, seen everything that money and family and the particular dynamics of inherited wealth can produce. She did not blink when I told her about the check. $22 million, she said. For primary custody. Yes, I said. And she left the check, she said. On my coffee table, I said, next to the baby monitor. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Claire, she said, I need to ask you something directly. Ask, I said. What do you want? She said. Not what you think you can get. Not what seems realistic. What do you actually want? I thought about Emma and Liam sleeping upstairs. About the particular weight of two 4-year-olds who had, in 4 years, become the entire architecture of my life. Who had my stubbornness and James's eyes and their own specific, irreducible personalities that were already visible and already wonderful and already entirely theirs. I want my children, I said. Primary custody. My home, their school, their life as they know it. And I want whatever financial settlement reflects 7 years of marriage to someone whose mother just tried to buy my children for $22 million. That's a very clear answer, Patricia said. I've had 14 months to prepare, I said. What followed was 3 weeks of the most careful, methodical preparation I have been part of. Patricia was thorough, in the way of someone who has spent 22 years understanding that preparation is not a stage before the important work, and it is the important work. Every financial document from our marriage, every record of James's actual involvement in the children's daily care, documented, dated, specific. The school communications, the medical appointments, the particular detailed record of who had shown up and who had not. Across 4 years of Emma and Liam's lives that I had been maintaining without knowing exactly why. I had known why. Somewhere underneath the hope and the trying and the particular optimism of someone who keeps believing things will become what she expected them to be, I had known. And I had documented. This is exceptional, Patricia said, reviewing the record. Most people don't keep documentation this detailed. I pay attention, I said. Yes, she said. You do. The documentation showed what I already knew and what anyone paying attention already knew. Emma and Liam's daily care, the school runs, the medical appointments, the sick nights and the birthday, parties and the homework and the particular 10,000 small things that constitute being present in a child's life, had been managed by me consistently across 4 years. James had been present for the visible moments, the photographs, the holiday events, the particular occasions that produce evidence of a father who is there. The invisible moments, the ones that do not produce photographs, had been mine. Patricia filed our response 3 weeks after Victoria's Tuesday visit. Not to the custody offer, to the Harrington family attorney, who had apparently been involved in the check's preparation, and who had, Patricia told me, expressed surprise at the speed and completeness of our response. The response was not an acceptance. It was a counter. Our counter was not a number. It was a document. The 4-year record of Emma and Liam's care. Every appointment. Every school communication. Every sick night documented with the timestamp of the text. I had sent James and the timestamp of his response, which was, consistently, hours later. Every occasion, when the particular weight of 2 small people had been carried by one parent. The counter also included a financial assessment. 7 years of marriage, the Harrington Family Trust. The specific provisions of our prenuptial agreement, which James had presented as routine and which Patricia, reading it 14 months ago, had identified as aggressive in ways that I had not understood when I signed it, but that were now very relevant. Victoria called me the morning after our response was filed, I answered. She did not speak immediately. The pause on her end was the particular pause of someone who has been operating with complete confidence in a predetermined outcome and has just encountered information that disrupts the predetermined part. Your attorney, she said finally. Yes, I said. She's very thorough, she said. She is, I said. The documentation, she said. The care record. 4 years, I said. I pay attention to things that matter. Victoria was quiet again. What do you want, Claire? She said. It was the same question Patricia had asked me. But from a different place. Not an invitation to be honest, but an attempt to understand what it would take to close a situation that was no longer going the way it had been planned. My children, I said. My home, a fair settlement, and an acknowledgement. From James, from you, from the family attorney, that what you attempted to do on that Tuesday was not acceptable. The check was an attempt to purchase my children, I said. I would like that acknowledged. Silence. That may be difficult. Those are my terms, I said. I put the phone down, and I thought about Victoria, sliding that check across the coffee table with the particular calm of someone who believed she had already won. She had miscalculated one thing. She had assumed that $22 million was the highest number in the room. She had not accounted for 4 years of documentation. The mediation took 6 weeks, not because the case was complicated. Patricia said, more than once, that the documentation made it straightforward, but because the Harrington family attorney needed time to revise his understanding of the situation he was managing, and that revision took the particular time that institutional recalibration always takes. I attended every session. Victoria attended 2 of them. In the first session, she sat across the table with the particular composed authority of someone who has been in negotiations before and knows how to present herself in them, controlled, deliberate, the woman who had slid a check across my coffee table with complete confidence. In the second session, she was quieter. The documentation had been presented in full by that point. The 4-year care record, the timestamps, the medical appointment history, the school communications showing which parent the school contacted, by default because that parent had been consistently available. The particular detailed evidence of 4 years of being present in the invisible moments. Victoria looked at that documentation for a long time. Then she looked at me. And for the first time, in 7 years of being her son's wife, in 7 years of dinners and holidays and the particular performance of a family that functions smoothly on the surface, she looked at me as if she was seeing something she had not allowed herself to see before. Not an obstacle, not a woman who could be managed with a number. Emma and Liam's mother. The mediation concluded with a settlement. Primary custody and with me. In our family home. At their school. In the life they knew. James would have generous, regular visitation, structured, consistent, supported by a parenting plan that Patricia had designed to ensure it was real involvement, rather than the visible moments, version that had characterized his parenting. For 4 years, the financial settlement reflected 7 years of marriage accurately. Not dramatically, Patricia had not been pursuing drama, but accurately, the prenuptial agreement had provisions that the Harrington attorney had presented as absolute and that Patricia had identified as challengeable. They were challenged. The settlement reflected what 7 years actually looked like when the full picture was visible. The check was never cashed. Victoria signed a statement, not public, not formal in the legal sense, but documented, acknowledging that the offer had been inappropriate. That was the term Patricia used. Inappropriate. I had asked for more specific language, and Patricia had advised that inappropriate was what we could achieve and that achieving it was meaningful. It was meaningful. I went home on the evening the mediation concluded, and I sat in my kitchen while my mother, who had been staying with us through the process, who had been the person in the room for all the invisible moments, when I needed someone in the room, put food in front of me that I ate without tasting. Then I went upstairs. Emma and Liam were asleep. I stood in the doorway of their room for a long time, looking at them in the particular way that parents look at sleeping children, taking in the specific improbability of these small, complete people, their absolute trust in the safety of the room they are sleeping in, the particular piece of children who do not yet know what the adults in their lives were doing on Tuesday afternoons. They would not need to know. Not now, not for a long time. And when they did need to know, when they were old enough to understand what had happened and why, what I would be able to tell them was this. Someone tried to reduce them to a number, and their mother had a better number. Not $22 million. 4 years. 4 years of school runs and sick nights and medical appointments and homework and birthday parties and 10,000 invisible moments. That was the number. That was what had walked into that mediation room and won. Victoria and I have a civil relationship now. Not warm. I want to be honest about that. The warmth that might have existed in different circumstances was not available after that Tuesday, but civil. In the particular way of two people who share something irreplaceable, Emma and Liam, and who have decided, for the children's sake, to manage the relationship with dignity, rather than with the full weight of everything that happened. She is a good grandmother. That I can say honestly. Whatever she did on a Tuesday in March, she loves those children. In her way, in the particular limited way of someone who has confused possession with love for so long that the difference is not always clear to her. I am working on not holding that against her. It is a work in progress. James and I share parenting in the structured way that the agreement requires. He shows up more consistently than before, which I attribute partly to the parenting plan and partly to the particular clarifying effect of having your own mother try to purchase your children and watching the documentation of your own absence be presented in a mediation room. People change, sometimes, when the cost of not changing is made visible enough. James is trying, I am watching. Here is what a $22 million check and 4 years of documentation and a mediation room taught me. The people who try to reduce you to a transaction, who believe that everything and everyone has a price, that enough money in the right envelope, presented at the right moment, will produce the outcome they want. Those people have never encountered someone who has been paying attention. Pay attention. Document what matters. Keep the records that seem unnecessary until they are the most necessary thing in the room, because the number that wins is not always the largest number. Sometimes it is the truest one. My mother-in-law offered $22 million for my twins. I had a better number, 4 years. And 4 years, in a mediation room, was worth considerably more.